Star Wars The Acolyte. It's like if the network The CW, the people behind the series Gotham Knights, had written a Star Wars series and for some inexplicable reason they'd been given $180 million to do it. It's a Star Wars series with no war in it, so what does it have? Well, according to the New York Times, it has the actress Jodie Turner-Smith playing the lesbian leader of a regal coven of witches. Not what some people seem to be falsely reporting, that she's playing the leader of a regal coven of lesbian witches. You see, some of them may not be, but she is, because of course she is. What else would you expect from Star Wars? It's like the Fast and the Furious franchise decided that it would no longer have cars or Vin Diesel in it. It would now instead be about a coven of lesbian witches, which will probably happen if the franchise ever gets bought out by Disney. She was the same actress, by the way, who played the race-swapped Anne Boleyn. The Acolyte was described on StarWars.com as being a love letter to some of the showrunners' favourite martial arts sagas and samurai films, like Come Drink With Me and Yojimbo, and so far in The Acolyte I have seen nothing that comes even close to being the quality of Yojimbo, and to try and link this to Yojimbo in any way is frankly an insult to the director Akira Kurosawa. The let's call them critics on Rotten Tomatoes gave Acolyte a similar rating to Yojimbo. The audiences certainly didn't though. Seriously, do yourself a favour and watch Yojimbo instead of The Acolyte. Just bear in mind, it's Japanese and from 1961. So it's all in Japanese, it's black and white, and if you don't have the attention span to get through a TikTok video or a YouTube short, you'll likely find the pacing to be a bit slow. And I can't recommend watching The Acolyte based on the first 2 episodes, but to explain why, I'll have to get into spoilers. The Acolyte starts off with a text crawl. It's set about 100 years before the rise of the Empire and the prequel trilogy, and starts off with a Sith assassin going after a Jedi being played by Carrie-Anne Moss. The assassin walks up to her table in a bar. Carrie-Anne Moss turns to her and says, "Yes, my child," in a way that struck me, like Carrie-Anne Moss didn't care about this project at all. And the assassin says, "We have unfinished business." She then strikes a ludicrous fighting pose that looks like it was taken straight from Naruto, and she says, "Attack me with all your strength." Carrie-Anne Moss says, "Jedi do not attack the unarmed," and the assassin responds, "Yes, you do." Like that's a bad thing to her. The assassin then starts hitting people around her in the bar, sending people twice her size flying across the room, and in doing so, she attacks quite a lot of people that are entirely unarmed, as well as the concept of physics. Carrie-Anne Moss then steps in, and there's a Matrix-style fight scene, only not nearly as good, in which the assassin throws an unarmed woman off of a balcony as a distraction, after putting a knife to her throat, and throws a knife at the face of an unarmed bar owner as a distraction, causing Carrie-Anne Moss to have to save them. Carrie-Anne Moss can win this fight at any time. She's shown to be far more powerful than the woman trying to end her life, but she lets the assassin keep on trying to put knives in her until she finally manages it, and I have no idea why. While saving the bar owner from a knife thrown at his face, the assassin throws another knife into the Jedi's heart. This is a series that was pitched on StarWars.com as focusing on the duality that exists beyond the simplistic black and white view of good versus evil. The only way any of this is morally ambiguous so far is if you've got a completely broken moral compass. It's frankly hard to justify attacking innocent people to get your revenge so you can stab someone while they try to save them. If they were going for moral ambiguity with this, they failed badly. So Carrie-Anne Moss is done. She was one of the few things about the show I was interested in. We're under 7 minutes in and she's already out. The scene had no build up and came entirely out of the blue. The audience didn't get the chance to know or care about either of the characters or their abilities, and that kind of made it hard to care. We cut to the assassin actress working as a mechanic on a ship. 2 Jedi arrive on the ship to arrest the woman for what happened to Carrie-Anne Moss. She was a student at the Jedi Temple until she left, and she swears she did not do it despite the bar owner being there to identify her. But this is Star Wars. How much is an eyewitness worth when multiple alien species exist in your galaxy that can shapeshift? This character, Osha the Mechanic, also at no point thinks that it could be the twin sister that she knows she has, but thinks is not alive. The twin sister that she's not seen since they were both children, but matched her description perfectly because she just so happens to have the exact same haircut as her. And weirdly, they both have the haircut of Dave Chappelle playing Rick James. And sadly, that is the way this series is going to carry on for the next 2 episodes. The dialogue is stupid, the characters are stupid, and the plot makes frankly very little sense. The Jedi talk to Osho about her past and how she lost her family in a fire of some sort that will probably turn out to be the Jedi's fault in some way. In that fire, she lost her village, her sister, and her 2 mothers. And didn't they already do this with America Chavez? The whole 2 mothers thing. Look, when you start writing families with no men in them at all, it really makes it look like you have a problem with men. And the few men that are in this show kind of act like they've all been castrated. The Jedi are ready to convict Osha and say the evidence is strong. They have one eyewitness that claims it was her. They never consider that the witness could be lying or could have made a mistake. They could have seen a changeling, or that it could be her twin sister that both her and one of the Jedi knew she had. The Jedi don't even bother to check if Osha had an alibi. They want to make an example out of her out of concern. One Jedi slaying another could be used by their political enemies, so the Jedi load her onto a prison ship for transport back home and do not take her themselves for no reason whatsoever, just so there can be an escape attempt from the ship. The other prisoners already have one planned when she gets there. One of the prisoners seems to hack the droid pilots somehow. The pilots then turn into chairs. The ship drops out of hyperspace and crashes into an asteroid field. Do I need to stress how this was not a good escape plan? The whole scene was written so poorly that I'm not even sure what the writer's intentions were. One of the prisoners has lights all over his face, makes some noises, the droid shut down, and then the ship drops out of hyperspace and hits multiple asteroids. It's already established in Star Wars that hitting something at light speed is not a very good idea. You don't pass through it unharmed. So, were the droids piloting the ship through an asteroid field at light speed? What did the prisoner even do? The ship is broken by impacting the asteroids and is going to crash into the planet. The prisoners take one of the 2 escape pods, leaving Osha alone with someone she knows is a violent criminal, who she chooses to free, and then he takes the other escape pod and leaves her behind. She straps in and somehow survives the ship, crashing into the planet below. The Jedi, including her old master, then come to get her, and the other prisoners, rendering the whole thing completely pointless. I'm not sure what the story gained by having Osha clumsily falling off the cliff, and the story for me needed scenes of the big bad guy doing something. Have him doing anything. About half of the episode could have been cut, and it would have barely affected the story at all. The Sith Acolyte, Osha's sister May, then goes back to her master, who stands ominously with a red lightsaber, vadering and giving a monologue. They say, "The Jedi live in a dream they believe everyone shares. If you attack a Jedi with a weapon, you will fail. Steel or laser is no threat to them, but an Acolyte kills. Without a weapon, an Acolyte kills the dream." Who wrote this? Did different people write the beginning and the end of this episode and then just not talk to each other? If you attack a Jedi with a weapon, you will fail. Only the opening to this episode was May attacking a Jedi with a weapon and she didn't fail. Steel or laser is no threat to them. Clearly steel is a threat to Jedi. Carrie-Anne Moss got a dagger to the heart in this episode. And no, an Acolyte clearly doesn't kill without a weapon. She had loads of weapons. Who thought any of this was a good idea?
All of us, you guys! You might think everything is okay, but Disney? He's gonna get you. Kathleen Kennedy's gonna get you. Disney and Kathleen Kennedy are gonna get you. And everyone in town is like, "No, please, Kathleen Kennedy, stop ruining everything." And the Disney stock just keeps going down and down and down. And then Bob Iger is all like, no, what's going on with my stocks? No, Kathleen Kennedy. Ah!